Good afternoon, and welcome to the Fantasy Lunch. Hello, everyone. What's going on? Let's make sure it looks okay. Was that a Vegas hat? This is the Wii Shop channel. It's the great Smooth McGroove as always. But that is a good way to put it, Aaron. Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Fantasy Lunch. I know you're all gathering in here, so I'll give everybody a few minutes. Welcome in. Sorry this has not been consistent. We did do Fantasy Lunch and Twitch the other night at the same time, so that was a good day. Rankings are up. I'm stealing the hello, Mike. Thanks for your help. I have things coming in the mail today. Hopefully you got my other email. I'm not moving to Vegas. No. Let's do this. And I'm sorry to my friends at Foreign Aces, where I retired from last night. I have to steal the account one more time. Here are my updated rankings. That's for you guys. Also, there's one other thing I should probably put there. There's an article that came out today. My name's not in it, but you should read it. There you go. Check out those links. And by the way, I will be using a different account to post things in there, so thank you. Anyway, check that article. Read that. There's something in there. And then maybe I'll talk more about that when more things come out today. But there's good things in there. Yeah, I can't point, but you guys got it. So what's going on? There's my rankings. We did some things today. We made some changes. I did something I didn't want to do, but sometimes you have to be realistic. Andrew Luck has moved down the board. I have him down at 4. I think I said this on one of the first fantasy lunches of the season. I wanted to put him 1. There was a time when I thought Andrew Luck was going to be my number 1 quarterback for the season. That was when Tyreek Hill may have been suspended. That's obviously out the window. Mahomes is my number 1. Okay, so I had Luck at 2. I've moved him down to 4. I've basically adjusted some projections for the season. I'm expecting him to miss. I'm projecting him to miss week 1, potentially week 2. So I moved him down to 4. I think that's the right thing to do. As I did the numbers at first, I said, I wonder how far am I going to see him fall? Because my thought was like, am I going to move him down to 6? He didn't go that far. So he's at 4. And as I looked around, just because I'm interested sometimes, my interest was piqued by how Luck was being treated. That seems to be where I see a lot of people moving him. That seems to be where his ADP now is. And he was in the 2 area. So he's down to 4. I see DJ Henry just asked about Hilton. I moved him down as well. I didn't move him down much. I moved him down to 9. I think I had him, let's see. In PPR, I got to make an adjustment there. Yeah, I moved him down to 10. All right, so I moved him down I think a spot, maybe 2. I think I only moved him down a spot, and that's because I do have some confidence in Jacoby Brissett. I will say that. At the end of last season, once Luck got through it and everything, I wasn't surprised to hear Jacoby Brissett's name thrown about in potential trades. Hey, this team needs a quarterback. Maybe they go look for him. Do the Giants go look at Jacoby Brissett? I think that all made sense. I believe the Colts are following in the footsteps of other teams that have been contenders in the last couple of years. The Eagles. I think I spoke about this on Twitch the other night. The Eagles keeping Foles around and looking what that did. The Saints last year, making a point to go get Teddy Bridgewater in the preseason to say, we think we have a championship caliber roster. And yeah, if we lose our quarterback, our odds of winning take a hit, but we want to still believe we have a chance. You still want to have that depth there. You want to say, you know what, that depth means something to our team. I believe that's why the Colts kept Jacoby Brissett around. So I think he's a solid, one of the better backup quarterbacks. I think there was a nice thread yesterday by Therese Paler, who was talking about the Colts and how they might be better equipped to handle an absence from Luck, which they weren't necessarily 2 years ago, and that was Chris Ballard's first year there. Look, I don't like the fact that this injury has lingered. that now it's gone from calf to bone to ankle, whatever you want to call it. I don't like that. But I do agree at the same time that they are better equipped now to handle an absence from Luck. They've built this roster up pretty well. I would hope the defense will be improved this year. So based on all of that, yeah, I still have faith in the team. Now, do I have the same kind of faith I would have had with Luck, or if Luck is out there? No. So I moved Hilton down. I moved Devin Funches down. I mean, I had him pretty high to begin with, but he's outside the top 30 now. I had him, I think, at 30. He moved down. I didn't really do much with the backs yet. I don't think that changes much. But, you have to acknowledge what's going on here. And I also don't want to have too much injury optimism, because that can get you in trouble as well. I'd rather be cautious and then adjust. I didn't make an over-adjustment. I think you just need to be cautious here. So I got a couple other questions as it related to injuries, and I do want to cover them here. Let's see. Where's the pug content? I had a discussion just yesterday. If such a serious conversation can actually exist, I had a serious conversation yesterday about the Pugs coming back and picking kickers. I believe that's happening this year. Check out that article. Thanks for hosting that mock. The mock was so much fun. Speaking of which, if you were in that Twitch stream and I had to restart it like 5 times, my guy Mike from Bleacher Report, who's in the comments, has helped me out in a big way. It was able to get me some things coming my way to make the Twitch stream better. It's going to get better, so I appreciate those of you who stuck with it last night. We had to restart it the other night. I thought the mock as an exercise was a hell of a lot of fun. I was really appreciative of everybody that participated and stayed on it. So we'll do another one of those in the future, but the stream will get better. I can tell you that. The Instagram's different because I do it off the phone and the quality's good, and it's obviously just right here and not here, and I'm not showing the board and all that stuff. So we do the Twitch so I can show more stuff. All right, so let's see. Better value second or third round. I want to get a couple of. I saw questions. I want to get them in, and we'll cover. I saw Balaz's question in. Let's do that as well. Manthony, better value second or third round. Second or third round. Carry on or Devontae Freeman. So these are two guys I consider in a very similar tier. I have Carry on at 11. I have Devontae Freeman at 15. This is also because Carry on moved up today, and that's because I moved Melvin Gordon out. I didn't have him low enough. I knocked another game off him, so I think I have him projected for 14. So he's my number 12 running back. That is why Carry on moved up. I have Damian Williams at 13. I have Gurley at 14. I have Freeman at 15. And another player who moved up today, who I have always been on, and now I'm getting some justification a little bit more, is Chris Carson is now my number 16 running back in PPR. As I said, I don't overdo it with Pete Carroll comments. But I will take what an offensive coordinator says in Schottenheimer and believe it. And by the way, Chris Carson has proven it. Chris Carson is a damn good RB2 who's going to give you some RB1 weeks, as he did last year. And that's not a knock on Rashad Penny. That is just acknowledging that Chris Carson is a damn good football player on a team that needs him more than ever. So go get him. I don't know if a guy who's ranked at 16 at running back for me is a league winner, but that guy's going to win people championships this year. So value-wise, let's take a look at some ADP information. We'll put it into context here, the Freeman carry-on situation. I think they're similar. I think people are kind of overlooking Devontae Freeman. Ito Smith does nothing for me. He was more of an annoyance last year than anything else. I don't think he's that good. I think it's Devontae Freeman's backfield. So, yeah, I'm not worried about that. All right, so Carry-on Johnson. I'm just using PPR. Carry-on Johnson is RB 14, 28. So I have him a little higher. ADP is 28. I'm a little higher than where he's going. Devontae Freeman's RB 17, 34.6. So we're talking about a 6-spot different in ADP. I have him 2 spots higher than his ADP in terms of positional rank. I have Carry-on Johnson 3 spots higher than his positional rank. But I think the spots where they're going is fair. I'd rather have Carry On. I think he's more important to his team. But I like both guys. So if both of those guys finish inside the top 12, I wouldn't be surprised. I think there's a divide between guys like Carry On and Devontae Freeman and then that upper echelon of RB1s. And that can happen. I mean, there could legit be like a 75, 85 point difference between those Barkley, McCaffrey, Kamara, Elliott guys, and then the guys at the bottom of the RB1 tier that finish 10, 11, 12. That's fine. You address, you build your team accordingly. But I do think those guys can finish in the top 12. Let's see. Get some more questions in here. Am I on the Galladay breakout train? I mean, I think he kind of broke out last year. I'll tell you what. So I have Galladay as my number 21 wide receiver. That seems to be a little bit lower. I don't I'd rather have Chris Godwin. I saw a question about that. I think I'd rather have Chris Godwin. I think there's more volume there in their offense. I have Galladay and Godwin separated by like 2 points and 3 spots. There is a group here of let's see. Where would Galladay fit in here? Diggs to Galladay is like 12 points, and that's 14 through 21. Even Alshon Jeffrey's in that conversation. So that's a tight group. That might just come down to where you're at. And K-Dubs, I don't know if their offense stinks. Stafford's healthier. I think they'll run it more. I don't love their offensive line. I mean, it could be okay, but we'll see. Last year, just nothing went right. They went to Blunt too much early. Carry-on got hurt. They traded away Tate. Stafford was hurt. They didn't have a tight end. Things are better now. I think there'll be more stability in their offense. But I think there's more upside in Chris Godwin than Kenny Galladay. And Galladay is a good player. Don't get me wrong. I just think there's more upside in Godwin because of volume. Don't be there's a good example. Don't be jaded because of last year if things have changed. I will be here's a very honest thing that happened. Fantasy pros asked us, experts, whatever, that put stuff on their website to do articles. Now, I couldn't do this, to do these little questionnaires where we kind of offer advice on something they're doing. I wasn't able to do it, but they asked me to. I was away, so I couldn't do it anyway. But they had asked me to do something where players you would never draft again because of what happened. And I don't like that idea. Because at some point, it's a good value to go get. Like, last year, I wasn't touching LaShawn McCoy. I've drafted LaShawn McCoy in a bunch of best balls this year. LaShawn McCoy is RB41, 108.4. You're drafting him as like your 4th or 5th running back. I am not investing anything like I had to last year in LaShawn McCoy. Some people who drafted LaShawn McCoy last year may have said, well, screw him. I'm not bothering with that. That was awful. He let me down. Okay, he let you down, but you don't have to draft him there this year. You can draft him as he's going as RB41, 108.4. And if he's the lead back, even on a bad team like Buffalo, who cares? He's not that important to your team. In a best ball, it's certainly worth taking him. So I don't like that idea of I'm never drafting this guy again. Because there's a spot you're holding a grudge, it's going to cost you. If it's justified, you say I don't want to draft the guy, okay, you don't have to take him. But just to say I'm absolutely never taking him, that might be more based on where he's going, not necessarily what happened last year. So be careful about holding grudges. That's all I'll say about that. Let's see. Let's get some more. Kalen Ballage moving up draft board. All right, so Joe, I have moved him up and have been moving him up, and I moved him up again yesterday or when I did my rankings this morning. I don't have him past Kenyon Drake in PPR because I still think Drake's going to catch a bunch of passes. But Ballage is 36 in PPR. Drake is 33. Ballage, yeah. Drake is higher in PPR. In standard, though, I have, let's see, I think I have Ballage in front. Because now I have Ballage clearly in front in terms of carries. So, yeah, Ballage is now 32 in standard. And Drake is 37 because I think Ballage, and I kind of believe this anyway, was going to lead the Dolphins in carries. Now, here's where you have to be careful and you can't get too high. I don't think the Dolphins are very good. And, yeah, you could say he's going to lead the team in carries. One problem, if they stink, they can't run the ball that much for they're playing from behind. And that is going to lend itself more, game flow, game script, to Kenyon Drake, assuming he's healthy. Right now, he's hurt. So I think Ballage will lead the team in carries. I'm not saying that's a strong number. I think he's a solid RB3 and probably could be in your day one lineups or week one lineups as opposed to, maybe just being a depth option. But Drake not being out there certainly helps Balaj. And, he's moved up in the world. I don't want to go overboard because they're not great. But I thought he'd have more carries than Drake anyway. Now I definitely feel that way. So there's a door open here for Kalen Balaj. Sykester, starting keeper league this year. What are some rules or scenarios where I should be implicated, where rules should be implicated that I need to think about? I mean, I would say this. Establish before the season how many you can keep. Is it you can only keep one player from the first 2 rounds? And then, I've done this in the past. You can only keep one player from the first 4 rounds, and then you can only keep one player from rounds 5 through 18. You can't keep anybody from the first 4 rounds. If you keep somebody, they move up a round. You could say that. You could say you can't keep any first-round picks. You can keep seconds, but they come first. Establish that right away. I wouldn't go in a keeper league much deeper than like 3 or 4. And that depends. How much turnover do you want to have in the rosters from a year-to-year basis? I think you should. I love the questions that I've been getting. Hey, I can keep George Kittle for a 14th. That means people got him there last year. That's awesome. I've gotten Mahomes questions, double-digit rounds. I love seeing that because that shows you drafted well, and now you can benefit from that this season in your keeper leagues, even if you have to move up around. So establish that stuff early so people know, and also do this. This is another important one. In your keeper leagues, if you're starting them up, establish what it will be for a free agent pickup. Because there's going to be people, if they can take advantage of the rules, who will drop a player, a major player. Let's say, I'm just throwing this out there. Let's say that David Johnson tears his ACL. So what is he if he gets cut and somebody picks him up at the end of the year to keep him? Is he a first-round pick? Or is he a free agent, so he's basically, a freebie? That is something I would establish. Because then the idea is, do I keep him on the IR? Do you have an IR spot? That is something I would talk out. You got to make a call like that. Where do you feel comfortable drafting Geis? Geis is not even cleared yet. I don't have a great feeling about him anyway. I have him at 44, and honestly, I think that might be high. I have seen him go way too high on a bad team with Peterson still there. I don't get it. And I'm not a big believer in, he's a rookie, so what upside are we seeing in Darius Geis on that team? If you think Peterson's going to disappear, that's different. But they're not good. You need their defense to keep them in games so he gets carries. Same issue last year as Peterson. Their best offensive lineman is not there and may get traded. I don't know who they're starting at quarterback. So I can't get pumped about Geis. RB31, 72.4. No thanks. What are we talking there? 6th, 7th round? You can keep moving down the board. RB31. You're drafting for upside. I understand it. I just find myself looking elsewhere. Let's see. Thoughts on Gaskins in Miami? There's an opportunity there, potentially. Once again, though, I hate getting too high on players on bad teams that aren't necessarily even the guy yet. If he becomes more important down the road, sure. I just don't want to pump up a guy on a bad team too much. Kenny Golladay better standard or PPR? Joseph, I'd say standard. Which rookie running back are your highest on? I've heard mixed thoughts on Jacobs. I like Jacobs. I'm not, I think he'll get enough touches. But... And I guess I'm adjusting some thinking here. I have Jacobs the highest because I think he's got the most guaranteed role in Oakland. I don't think Oakland's bad. I think they'll be better than last year. I'm almost making a point to avoid Hard Knocks because I've seen people get excited about certain players. I will watch it, just I haven't gotten there yet. I have Jacobs at 19. I don't think I've moved him. I have, at the current time in PPR, David Montgomery and Miles Sanders tied at 26. And I know that's maybe a bit of a change in where I was with Montgomery. I'm not going overboard. I have those guys with a very similar role. I'll continue to say I have less concern about Sanders in terms of competition for touches than I do about Montgomery. But I'm a believer in the Montgomery talent. That was never a question. And as I talk to more people that I think are smart, because I do that, because it's not all about what I think. I think it's smart to listen to others, especially those outside the fantasy realm. That's where I get a lot of my information, is I talk to people who aren't thinking about PPR and receptions. It's, hey, this guy makes a lot of sense to this offense. He fits here. There's a role that he could lead the way. It would make sense. I like to talk to those people who can then project talent on a team. I try to do the same, but I'm also not, I'm not tunnel vision where, all I say is correct. No, I don't think that way. So I've opened my mind a little bit more to Montgomery. I still worry about his workload a little bit on a consistent basis because I don't worry about as much as Sanders. Do I think he should be going in the third round? No. And I got that question yesterday. I've seen it happen. David Montgomery, PPR is RB26, 57.6. Guess what? That's exactly where I have him. So, I'm on board right now with his ADP at 57.6 as RB26. I'm not on board with taking him in the third round. I'm not on board with taking him in the fourth round. Not quite there. The snowball effect. I've talked about that a lot. Let's see the buzz continue, starting in training camp, moving into the preseason, and moving through the preseason. Okay, what running backs? What's keeping Chris Carson from moving up ahead of Kerryon Johnson, Damian Williams? Seems he'll be a feature back in the decent offense that is going to run the daylights. Fair question, K-Dubs. I think that role in the passing game is the biggest question. I believe it should be there, but feel like we're kind of guessing a little bit on that as much as they've talked about it. So if he finished higher than those guys, yeah. I think that based on the offense, Damian Williams has a higher ceiling. I think Kerryon Johnson is probably in for more touches as a pass catcher in Detroit, even if Chris Carson does more there. But remember, and I'm bringing up the numbers here. I thought I had it, but I don't have it. Hang on one here. I'm trying to bring this up. Last year, here we go. Let's give you some numbers here for Chris Carson. This is what I just want to put into context here for Chris Carson. This is why I don't want to go crazy with Chris Carson just yet. All right, hold on a second. Chris Carson wasn't that busy as a pass catcher and hasn't really been. Obviously, it's not a big sample size. Chris Carson had 24 targets last year in 14 games. So it's not a big number. I believe that number will be higher. What do I have him projected for? I bumped him up last night. So I have him for 32 receptions. That's up from last year, the 20 he had. I just don't think I want to go overboard. Now, if he ends up in the 45-50 range, no doubt he'll jump those guys to me. So I'm kind of being safe. Not worried about his O-line. A little, but I think he's been able to overcome that. I also think if he's catching passes, that's going to help as well. And plus the volume. The volume is going to help. Thoughts on Dalvin Cook? I have him at 10. Think he's a second-round pick. I moved Chubb over him just because I feel better about Chubb's overall role, and I can't ignore Cook's injuries the last 2 years. Let's cover this whole here. And yeah, Aaron, I don't know if you missed out, but Kareem Hunt is behind Nick Chubb. Might have just missed that. No Duke. I'm just going to fast forward to this question because I see it. No Duke, and you seeing Chubb being a top 5 back until Hunt plays. Don't you think Brown's offense will improve? He should get a lot more goal line work. I think Nick Chubb could score 10 touchdowns this year. I don't think they need him to be a big part of the passing game. I think the idea that Nick Chubb can be a top 5 running back isn't crazy. I'm very happy you threw that caveat in of until Hunt plays because I've said this. I'll continue to say it. The people that are saying that Nick Chubb is going to be too good to keep off the field are ignoring the idea that Kareem Hunt's too good to keep off the field. And that's not a knock on Chubb. That's just saying it's not like Kareem Hunt is this veteran that's been around and he's got all this wear and tear because he doesn't. if I'm the Browns and I get those fresh legs after 8 weeks off and then the 9th week of the bye week, if I can go to 10 through 17 getting a fresh Kareem Hunt, I'm using that guy. Now, I'm not telling you he's getting 15 carries a game, but I think he's involved. Like, I think Kareem Hunt is going to win people championships this year. Now, you got to get there, because if you draft him and you can't stash him away, which I don't think people will be able to do for 10 weeks, and you shouldn't be able to put him on the IR because he's suspended, not hurt, you got to get there first. You got to say in week 10, and then assuming in week 10 that he's going to step into a big enough role to be in your lineup. We don't know that. From a talent standpoint, I say that guy gets on the field. And that probably hurts Chubb in the passing game. That's my guess. But Kareem Hunt, it's going to be tough to say, is he on your waiver wire? Were you, by some miracle, able to stash him away and win games and not need his roster spot? That's what you got to think of. Like, is he going to be a player that gets passed around because people need the roster spot? The person who drafts him goes 0-3 to start the season and goes, well, I got to cut him. I can't use him. Then he ends up on another team. Is he a trade piece for a team that is looking good? That maybe, if you think he's coming back week 10, do you try to get him when you're 5-2? I think that's a possibility. So you throw all this stuff in there, and I go, there's definitely value in Kareem Hunt, but how can you afford to keep him around? That's my question. Obviously, in Dynasty Leagues, who gives a crap? You'll have that roster spot. So he's going to be tough. He's going to win people championships this year. I do believe that. But it's going to be getting there first. You're going to have to weather the storm to get to that part in the season to say, oh, I can use Kareem Chubb. Kareem Chubb. Get ready for that combination. What a faux pas. What round should Chris Godwin be targeted? 4th. Glenn. Do I keep AB or Chubb? Oh. Other two keepers or Zeke and Mixon? Oh, boy. I think you keep Chubb. Can you make a trade? I mean, AB's 4th on that list, Glenn. How many wide receivers, running backs do you draft in standard? This is assuming you draft one of the other positions. Oh, there's no set number on that. What would you draft in the order? Carson, Sony, Montgomery, Jacobs. Steven, this is not as easy. I would just go by rankings here. I have them Carson. I have Sony a spot ahead. I have Carson, then I have Jacobs, then I have Sony, then I have Montgomery. But I have Sony a spot ahead of Montgomery. But that may come down to, what does my team look like? If I think I need someone in a solid, reliable role, maybe I just take Sony. If I think I could shoot a little higher and play for the ceiling, I might take Montgomery. So that's not as easy of what order would you draft them in. Waller you got to be careful of because of the injury. Would you be careful of Kerryon Johnson, James White as your starting running backs if you're loaded at wide receiver and tight end? In a PPR, yes, I would be. Where do you have Will Fuller of the Kiki injury? I haven't changed him up much because I don't want to go overboard with that. And I don't know if a lot's going to change there because I have Will Fuller at 35. I'm not moving him yet. I probably should have bumped Kiki down, but I didn't really do it yet because I think Duke Johnson, and then he's banged up, could be the one that benefits from that. So I haven't done much with Houston yet. Where'd you take rookie running backs like Montgomery and Sanders? I'm in the 5th round zone, 5th, 6th round. How deep should lineups be in an 8-man league? Okay, good question. I love that you asked that. I think that's a 2-quarterback league. I think that's a 3 running back league. I think it's minimum 4 receivers. I'd probably go to 5. I think you could argue go to 2 tight ends there. If you want to find a way to vary this, I'd go 3 flex spots. If you're in an 8 or a 10 team league, it should be 2 quarterbacks. If you're in a 12er, I would even throw in the idea of a super flex spot. Thoughts on Mark Andrews? He's in the sleeper category. He is my tight end 13 right now. And there's a group of guys there that, if you get Kelsey or Kittle or Ertz, you're probably set there. If you take like a Delaney Walker or Jordan Reed, you might pair him up with a Mark Andrews. I don't want to go overboard with him because I think that there could be some volatility to that passing game because of Lamar Jackson. Talent-wise, I love Mark Andrews. DJ Moore or Curtis Samuel, definitely Moore. Do you think Josh Allen will have another fantasy-friendly season? I think he'll be solid. I think he'll drive you nuts, though. Relying on the legs, which is what people had to do last year down the stretch, and he was very good at that. 5 top 5 finishes last year, but only 6 top 15s, which shows you he was quite variant in where he finished. Josh Allen is my QB 22. A lot of that is based on his legs. That can be dangerous. He'll be a good streamer, though. If you're going RB heavy, what wide receiver would you want to go with? Okay, so maybe the question there is, Mark, is where do I draw the line at the wide receiver 1 category? T.Y. Hilton should be that last guy, and I don't know if I'd say that right now. So maybe the thought is it's Keenan Allen. That would be, the last wide receiver 1. Then you get into Brown, who I'd rather as a 2, and Edelman and Thielen and Diggs. I'd rather them be 2s. I'd rather Cooper be a 2. I get it if you go RB heavy early and you land on those guys, but comfortable is a different conversation. How many RBs you shoot for in a 5 PPR 16-man roster? I don't know if you really lock that number down because I would say that it's depending on what your team looks like. Auction strategy, I'm thinking about nominating Pollard before Zeke and buying Pollard before Zeke. At a cheap price, sure. I'll tell you what, Barney, I like the idea of nominating Pollard because you could get somebody to overpay for him. I do like that idea. Always, I'll throw in an auction strategy. If there's a player that you're not particularly fond of in auction and you think others are, if you think there's a player with a lot of buzz, I like nominating those guys early and letting a bidding war take place and bleeding other people of their money. So if you're not in on David Montgomery, you're not in on Miles Sanders, you're not in on Kerryon Johnson, nominate those guys early if you think it's going to create a bidding war. Because you're not spending money, and it's going to allow you to spend elsewhere. Anybody you don't really like, I like a nominating. How do you feel about trading future draft picks for players in season? Seems like it can really shift the competitive balance. You have 3 team managers with 5 picks. I'm okay with it as long as they are 100% committed to the next season. Because if you have teams that don't show up the next year, owners that don't show up the next year, and then they're taking over teams that don't have draft picks I don't like that. So you got to be, I don't really like that unless it's a keeper or dynasty league, K-Dubs. Have you participated in a Guillotine Fantasy League? No, but I know a lot about them, and I love the idea of them. Thoughts, let's see. Philip, 14-team league, full point PPR, 3 wide receiver slots, 7 pick and draft. If Sean Watson slips to the 4th round, do I grab him? No, late quarterback. 14-teamer, absolutely not taking a quarterback early. A half-point PPR for the Carson. Okay, covered that. May have already covered. Why is general consensus that Bell is not a top 4 pick? Recency bias, resentment last year. Just last year is arguably the number 1 pick. He's not in Pittsburgh. He's not on as good of a team. Different offense. It's not a knock on him. I think it's also that sometimes I bring this up. Is this Iris? Sometimes it's just about the idea that you like other players more. It's not a knock on Bell or James Conner. It's just sometimes you rank for that ceiling and you just feel better about Barkley and McCaffrey and Elliott and Kamara and David Johnson. If Le'Veon Bell is back in Pittsburgh, yeah, he's probably in that conversation. But I think there's just too many question marks, and there's less question marks about other guys. I always say what are the warts? The warts on Bell are the team. The year off's probably not the worst thing in the world from a wear and tear standpoint, but it is, does he have to work any rust off? In-game action is a totally different beast. Let's see. Anyone you're avoiding no matter what? I talked about this earlier, Sean, but I think it's if you say on price, maybe. Based on price, I'm not taking Patrick Mahomes in the 3rd round. But that's a quarterback call. Let's see. On ADP right now, who do I not like? I love Antonio Brown as wide receiver 9 at 20.8. Haven't made that move very often. I don't like Leonard Fournette as RB 15 at 28.6. I think that's a bit strong. Outright avoid? Lindsey at RB 21 at 46.2 seems a bit strong right now. Let's see. I don't think there's anybody I'm like, no. Because at some point, everybody's worth it. And it depends where they fit on your team. I don't really think I'm like totally like Kenyon Drake. I never liked as high as he was going, and now he'll move down the board. And that Balaj here, I mean, this is not going to be updated based on the news, but Balaj at RB45 at 128 was always a steal to me because you weren't investing much to get him. So, there's guys like that. Like Balaj has an ADP lower than Greg Zuerlein. That's stupid. That won't last either. And why are you taking a kicker that early? Oh, as Jason comes in. Perfect timing as I'm talking about kickers. That's tremendous. Any chance you could do an auction draft in a PPR format? P.S. The only thing with that is those auctions take forever. I could do a mock draft in like 90 minutes. I would love to say I could sit down for 3 hours and I'm going to get 11 other people to commit to 2.5 hours, 3 hours of a PPR auction. I would love to say that. It is tough to do. So get in them. Go jump in there. Try to do them on your own, but it is hard to get people to lock themselves in. Let's see. Do you see Singletary taking over the role in Buffalo? Chris, I think that'll happen eventually. I did move him up. I had him low, like ridiculously low. I still have him low. I have him at 58. But I have him at 58 with the thought that maybe he moves into flex potential in the second half of the season. It would be much easier if LaShawn McCoy wasn't there. Like they have McCoy and Yeldon and Frank Gore and Singletary. Are they going to keep all of those guys? That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Anybody highly ranked but you would stay away from? I've said this. I'm a little weary of Damian Williams. Never had more than 50 carries in a career. Doesn't have a 30-catch season to his name. Certainly projected to be way over those numbers. It's a little dangerous. I think people are drafting the potential, the position, the team. And nobody's that worried about Carlos Hyde, and I get that. But he scares me. The Gurley stuff scares me just because I'm up in the air on it right now. Gordon and Zeke are a different conversation. I mean, that's a good question. Like, it's like you have to rank them there because it makes sense. I haven't made a point to draft Antonio Brown. I would say that. That's it, though. Nothing besides, the quarterbacks I'm waiting on. Just similar. Who would you rather pair with another tight end, Goddard or Mark Andrews? Mark Andrews. And I like Goddard. I was actually on the radio in San Diego this morning talking about that because somebody asked. I think Goddard could be top 5 if Hurts got hurt. I wouldn't go, crazy with him as long as the Eagles are healthy. Jacobs or David Montgomery. I'm still on Jacobs there. Any league winners you could think of early? I mean, I was in on Chris Carson, like where he was going, which is, and this won't be updated, RB 24-51. I got him at 16. I mean, if you want to say like it's that big of a gap now, like he's a 3rd-round pick to me. No problem. I don't think that's going to last. James White in PPR, RB 25 is ridiculous to me because of what he did and the fact that they lost Gronk. They added a rookie. Not much else there. They didn't add, nothing at tight end scares me. Still going to throw the ball. He's going to be that guy again. I don't know. You're taking him as RB 25, top of the RB 3 tier. That's a home run to me. Even if he regresses a little bit, that's a great RB 2. That's an easy one. I'm taking him. I'm in on Miles Sanders. I've talked about that. Tevin Coleman is in that conversation. I wanted to say Devin Funch is in that conversation. We're going to hit the pause button on that for now. Other league winners I like, who you're getting later on. I like Geronimo Allison. I'd throw him in that conversation. I like Cooper Kupp, but I think a lot of people like Cooper Kupp. I think Vance McDonald's in that conversation. I think Carson Wentz is in that conversation. But, like, these are, like, how do you treat this? It's more of just outperforming. Like, Wentz is moving up. He's up to 8. I have him at 6. There was a time where he was down at, like, 10, 11, 12 in the offseason of best balls. And I'll update that list, believe me. Should I trade Melvin Gordon or Fournette for Kerryon in a PPR dynasty? I would trade Fournette for Kerryon, yes. Is Trubisky a good late-round pick for a quarterback? Yeah, I am at 13, and I understand there have not been good reports about him. I don't even know if he's that good, but he's in a good offense and he runs. There's value to that. I trust his coach. He's got a lot of talent around him. He played at a top 10 level last year. If you go fantasy points per game, he finished top 10. He's going like way after that. QB 20. He'll be a top 15 quarterback this year, like by mistake. There's a good example. Fantasy versus reality. Don't think he's great in reality. There's enough there of good things in fantasy that'll be doing it. Diego, I'm not in one of the 97,000 left go fantasy leagues. No, I am not. He's got 1 million people in there. We talk, believe me. Oh, by the way, check out the article today if you haven't seen it for on Awful Announcing about Lefko's new show, which is awesome. I'm really happy the way he's always covered the league, and I'm not saying this because I work with the guy. Adam has always taken a different approach. Here, you want to see? This might be out there. You want to know about a guy who's taken a different approach in broadcasting? Go look up the Seinfeld cast. Go look up the WrestleCast. Adam used to do sports. He was a sports anchor in Louisville. I think that's where he did it from. Before Bleacher Report, and he did broadcasts, and these are went viral before viral was a thing, where he worked in a wrestling reference throughout the whole thing, the whole broadcast. And he did a whole thing with Seinfeld. Those are awesome. He's always been that way, thinking outside the box. The thing he did with Tariq Cohen last year. The McVay thing went crazy last year when that hit about being able to reference specific plays from when he was a coordinator. That stuff's awesome. I love that he goes outside the box. He's a very pro-player kind of guy. And he's even said the fact that Bleacher doesn't have, the rights to the NFL stuff, he's not worried about saying things, and it allows him some freedom. And the way he talks handles that. You can hear that in his broadcast, and there's no BS, which is cool. There's not a lot of fake laughter on his shows. It's not a Sunday morning, let's get ready for the games. There's none of that. Joe, Chris Sims went to NBC full-time. He is everywhere on NBC. As I am happy to see him be able to flourish. He did great work with Adam, and I got to work with him here and there, kind of behind the scenes at Bleacher Report, but he's on NBC, and you're going to be seeing, I believe, a lot of him this year. So I'm happy for Chris. He's a great guy. Always was cool to me. Didn't necessarily have to be, but I would pick his ear about stuff, and he was awesome. So I'm happy for his success, and I'm happy that Adam keeps to live on, continues to live on, and grow what he's done. Okay, that's enough of the lovey-dovey stuff. Any advice for leagues playing with defensive players? I hate IDP leagues. Sorry, I don't plan them. How do you feel about any of the backs in Philadelphia? I am in on Miles Sanders. I think Jordan Howard is nothing more than insurance for him. Would you be doing another draft on Twitch? Joe, I think we're gonna. I just don't know what timing. Are the Mets making the playoffs? They should have won that game last night. I don't know. I have trouble having faith in a team that I know I shouldn't have a faith in. All right, that's it. Rankings are up. tinyurl.com/MattCamp preseason. Check out the article. Pugs are sleeping. My daughter is about to wake up, so I have to go see her. That's why I was able to do this uninterrupted. We'll get the Pugs on here soon, but everyone's napping except for me, so I have to go wake them up to take them outside. I have to feed my daughter. And, go on my Twitter, look at the article that came out, and keep an eye on my social media because I think there's more coming out today. It's good news. And, yes, I know I don't have a bet. I don't know. As Padre fan, I understand. Mets went to the World Series a couple years ago. Check it out. There's good stuff coming. That first article that came out I posted earlier here and on social media on my Twitter is good. BJ, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be with those guys. Obviously, more to come there as well. All right, rankings are up. Oh, I'm going to the Hall of Fame this weekend. I forgot. Tomorrow, I fly out to Canton, Ohio, Sirius 210 XM87, and the Fantasy Channel on the app on Saturday. 10 a.m., 4 p.m. Eastern. 2 auctions, 2 drafts. We're covering it all. I'll be out there with Joe Dolan. I mean, as deep of a group of fantasy analysts as you're going to find are in those drafts. So if you're looking to learn about auctions, you want to see where the best in the business are making picks and drafting players and how they construct teams, check that out. If you don't have Sirius, we'll put the draft boards up. I'll put them on my social media. I'll be talking about that. And I can confirm that my first article for Bleacher Report is coming out finally next week. It will be a mock draft. Big board will come out probably the week ahead as I'm reading this email. So it looks like my first article big board will be 8/28, and the fantasy football season predictions article will be out on 8/30, And I think that's where we're at. And I'm doing 2 articles a week this year because I'm going to be very busy, and I will not be doing a waiver wire article, which was initially in the plans. There's no BS report Simmons. BS meter. I'm not doing that. I'm doing big board article. Oh, I could tell you these things now. I probably should have said this earlier. I didn't realize I got the email that says I could do it. Big board article this year will come out Wednesday afternoon as opposed to bright and early Wednesday morning, so I actually have some time to do it. And then I'm doing a sleepers article this year. So deep sleepers get fleshed out into an entire article that will come out on Friday. So you won't get it for Thursday Night Football, but you will get it for Friday. So 2 articles this year. And there's something else that if you read the article that I posted, and probably more coming out in the next, few hours, you'll see what else I'm doing. It's good. And there's also a little bit more to come. So it's been a good week and a half. And I'm happy to get that out to you guys. If you were on Twitch, it's going to improve there as well. Stay tuned. You're going to see me outside of in this box and on Twitch in the next week. That's good. Thank you for joining me. Listen to us this weekend in Canton, Ohio, right next to the bust room at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. All right, thanks, everybody. I'll be with you soon. See ya. Oh, won't forget about you. I got you covered. All right, have a good weekend. I won't be back tomorrow. I'll be back next week for more of this stuff from some location not in the Northeast. Bye.